This presentation is brought to you by the Beljanski Foundation. Over 50 years of research towards curing cancer the natural way.
Well, hello, New York. It's great to be here, and I even see one of my patients, which makes it even more special. Anyway, I want to thank Alex and his entire team for having me come from the West Coast to the East Coast. So is everybody feeling alive and wonderful today? Yes, fabulous. Why don't you guys stand up and shake, rattle, and roll a little bit? There we go. You guys have been so good for all these people to hear what they have to say. And so I want you to have the opportunity to hear, understand what I'm going to say. So everybody kind of move around and get their blood circulating and feeling great and fine, as they say in Texas. I'm from Texas originally, so. Anyway, it's awesome to be here. So I am a medical doctor. I'd like to clarify that because I'm a conventionally trained medical doctor that practices what I call the new allopathic medicine. And actually, it's really the traditional old medicine that's been around for a very, very, very long time. And people don't realize that. The medicine that's practiced now is really new medicine in a way because antibiotics have only been around for about 70, 80 years. So you're probably wondering why Alex had me come here, right? Well, one, he is passionate about teaching people about health, right? And the top two killers, what are the top two killers in the United States today? Heart disease and cancer. And doctors. She said doctors, yeah. She is partially right. She is. Yes, she is partially right. Western medicine, yes, you're right. Stress is really probably number one, right? Do you guys agree? But really, yes, it's in the conventional realm and paradigm, it's heart disease and cancer and about neck and neck, right? Well, as the famous astronaut says, Houston, we have a problem. I'm here to tell you about the problem, but I'm also here to take away the fear and give you hope of your own survival. Because that's what I want, that's my mission, is to educate and empower individuals and their families to be the best they can be. And then I want you to go out and tell the world how you did it and bless their life. So why do you think I wrote this book? Well, it's an interesting story. I was born over 60 years ago, and I'm number 3 of 6 children. And when my mother was pregnant with me, they gave her a drug because she was bleeding. And at the time, they gave pregnant women a drug called DES, which stands for diethylstilbestrol. And that was a drug to prevent the loss of the baby. 16 years later, fast forward, my parents receive a letter stating that that drug that my mother was given causes cancer in male and female offspring, hormonal problems, anatomical problems, and many other medical problems. So I lived in Houston, Texas at the time. I grew up there. And the large cancer institution is MD Anderson. So I had the fortunate, unfortunate experience of going to MD Anderson, which is a city of cancer. So I started getting tests and all kinds of things, and I still do to this day. And so when I went to college, I knew I wanted to be a doctor. So I went to when I went to college, I went to University of Texas School of Public Health to get my master's. And I did my master's on DES. So my whole life has been how not to get cancer. So that's what I am going to be teaching you today. And if you do have cancer, I'm going to tell you the new modeling approach of treating cancer. So with that said, because we only have 18 minutes, I think. So we know today cancer is 1 in 2 men, guys, 41% of females. Over 1,600 people die a day. And no one hears about it, no one knows about it, unless they have cancer. But my job with you today is to tell you about the explosion in illness, but also how you are going to reverse it in yourself, and also teach other people about how we're going to change the healthcare paradigm that is existing today. Because I've been practicing a different way for 30 plus years. But that's not been the way that doctors have been, except the new emerging doctor is changing the way, and that's what Alex is all about, is getting the doctors out there to change the way doctors care for patients. I tell people, doctors will teach patients, but nature will heal. But this is not only in the United States, it's all over the world. And as I said, we're all in this together. So what's ever happening here happens in the rest of the world. So what is the key to curing cancer? Well, first of all, there is not one magic bullet, there's many magic bullets. And as a doctor who's a quarterback for you, he or she must look at all the imbalances in the body. They must recognize all the causes, not the one cause, but all the causes of the disease, and treat the patient systematically if he or she can. So when you have cancer, these are all the things a doctor should be checking. Hormonal imbalances, elevated circulating tumor cells, toxicity, stress, unhealthy diet, lack of oxygen, alcohol and tobacco, and infections. If the doctor is not doing that in you, he or she is not doing your job. Now, we have an unbelievable onslaught exposure of toxins from what we eat, drink, breathe, or put in our skin. Trust me, they're everywhere. Don't think all of us in here are not toxic. We're all toxic to a certain extent. Yes, some of us may have really good detoxification abilities, but we all have a level of toxicity. We would not have the all-time illness high that we have without toxicity. So these are the major 3 categories. There's over 30 cancer-causing factors: toxins, bugs, and biological factors. So we have bugs. For example, if a patient is diagnosed with head and neck cancer, what organism is associated with head and neck cancer? HPV, human papillomavirus. So let's say we do the surgery, we do the chemo, and we do the radiation, but guess if we did not get rid of the HPV, what's going to happen to the cancer? It's going to come right back. So that's why you must go through a very systematic approach with each patient. Guess what? We all have had one of these or more of these in our system. Fungi parasites. You think that they only have parasites in China and India? No, we all have parasites. We all have fungus. We have all of these bugs that live in us. And so when I see a patient, I try to do the best evaluation to see what he or she may have. Now, this is just a small group of toxicity, but you see, our food is irradiated. Our food is GMO'd. We have lots of additives. There's mercury fillings in our mouth and in the environment. In China alone, they have a very high production of coal. What is the main byproduct of coal? Mercury. So you don't have to have fillings. They don't do fillings. In fact, the first New York school, dental school here is mercury-free. They're the first one in the United States, and it's here in New York, a mercury-free dental school. There is a worldwide mercury project because mercury is the most dangerous toxin you can have, and you can measure it in your blood and or urine or your hair. Now your mouth is the gateway to the rest of your body. So we have root canals, we have infections, we have cavities, we have gum diseases. They're all a risk factor in getting well, not just in cancer, but in heart disease. Then you have sunlight. Yes, sun is fabulous. It wouldn't be around 12 hours a day if it wasn't great, but too much, and in combination with the pollution, along with the depletion of the ozone layer, is creating more problems. Electromagnetic fields is probably our single greatest toxicity. What do you think is the #1 lobby in Washington, D.C.? Telecommunications. Telecommunications. So all of us, that includes me, cell phones, iPads, cell towers, electronics galore. We all are electrical energy beings. Do you guys believe that? Do you guys know physics? Do you know about the 0-point field theory? We're all in the same energy field, being affected by one another and the machines that are around us. So it is something to know and pay attention to and create your personal space for your life enhancement. Then there's geopathic stress, stress where there's water streams underneath the building. Then toxic buildings, people have mold, people have chemicals, all kinds of things. We know about nuclear radiation because we hear about that every day with Korea and Russia. And then we have pesticides in the food. All the food is laden. And then we have glycophosphate that's in the food that Monsanto has put in the food. If we checked all the people urine here, over 90% of us would have glycophosphate. It is carcinogenic. The guy was killed because he told people it was carcinogenic. Then we have industrial toxins. Then we have xenoestrogens. If you drink out of a plastic water bottle, you're destroying the planet and yourself. So do yourself and the planet a favor by not using plastic. Plastic causes cancer, heart disease, and diabetes. It does. It's the #1. When I check people's urine, it's a $100 test. It tells me all the chemicals in your body, and xenoestrogens are the #1 pollutant in man. Because who doesn't use plastic? We all do. But we all have to change the way we live. When I had all my children, I have 7 kids, I used wax paper for their lunches, and I used brown paper bags. Well, everyone else can do that too. So then you have polluted water. If you're drinking tap water, everybody's tap water is not good. So you have to buy a water filter, you got to buy a water system, you have to do something because all the water has pharmaceuticals and pollutants in your water. Unfortunately, I'm just the messenger of this information. Chlorinated water, fluoridated, of course, tobacco, and then we have immunosuppressive drugs and medications. So we know the cure for cancer. You know what the cure in the existing paradigm for most doctors is: surgery, chemo, or radiation. Well, surgery, chemo, and radiation all have the potential to cause cancer, right? Everybody knows that? Yeah, chemo causes cancer, radiation, surgery is an injury to the body, so that causes cancer. So actually, there's lots of potential dangers with all of these things. So how do I know if I have cancer? Because all of us have the potential to have cancer. Not genetically, because genetically it's only less than 5% of the population has a genetic predisposition. And how can it be genetically predisposed if 1 out of 2 men and 41% of females? That's not genetic. Genetics takes long time. This is not genetic. This is lifestyle and environment, published by the World Health Organization, not by me. The World Health Organization tells us why we have the explosion of cancer. But what if you found a lump or bump? Go to a doctor to go figure it out. Try not to do a biopsy. A biopsy has the potential to spread the cancer, so we want to be careful about that. We have liquid biopsies now that we can figure out if you have cancer. What if you just want to be diagnosed because your brother, sister, mother, father, hairdresser, friend has cancer? Because we all know, all of us here know someone who has cancer. Or I just want to make sure. So here's what it is. So one thing I will tell you, remember I told you, it's not one magic bullet to kill cancer, because this is cancer killing in your body. There's something called apoptosis. That's our body's ability to kill cancer. Apoptosis. It's our own mechanism. We kill cancer cells every day, all by ourselves. All by ourselves. We kill cancer. But does one thing work? No, many things work on the cancer. So let's talk about, these are all the different things that you can do to know if you have cancer, and they're all non-invasive. So I will tell you, look at CRP, the last two, CRP and hemoglobin A1c. CRP is a marker for inflammation, stands for C-reactive protein. C-reactive protein, as I said, is a very specific marker for inflammation. Inflammation is the precursor to all diseases, cancer and heart disease. So it's a simple little blood test that any doctor, any direct lab can do on you. Then hemoglobin A1c, what is that test? If you're diabetic, you know that test, because that's what you get checked all the time. Hemoglobin A1c is a reflection of your blood sugar over 90 days. If you have high sugar, you're much higher risk for cancer. So you don't want to have a high hemoglobin A1c. This is the future of oncology, because once you've had surgery, chemo, or radiation, if you do have that, there is something called circulating stem cells and circulating tumor cells. Those were just discovered in the last 10 years. That is what's responsible for 95% of metastasis and death. So that's the new frontiers of oncology. So what are they? If something is growing a millimeter in size in your body, 1 millimeter, remember that's a pencil line. A pencil line growing in your body, you are releasing circulating tumor cells and stem cells. So let's say you don't have a lump and bump. You can get a blood test for circulating tumor cells and stem cells. And so, of course, as I said, they're responsible for reoccurrence and metastasis. So you want to know that. So what's the link between cancer stem cells and chemotherapy? Well, if they gave chemotherapy, it enhanced the survival of these cells. So that means that chemo is, again, not only cancer causing, but it also makes the stem cells and the tumor cells way more aggressive. Okay, this is a brand new test. It's a couple $100 test, and it does advanced DNA sequencing methods with methylation pattern. It's a blood test. It'll tell you if you're in early stages or late stages. It's a brand new test. It's a liquid biopsy, very inexpensive blood test. Then we have the Bio Mewn Survey. This was actually started by 1940 by a very famous German physicist. He's one of those brainiac guys. You have acupuncture points on your fingers and toes that correspond to every organ in your body. An EKG is an energy test. An EEG on your brain is an energy test. This is a very inexpensive energy test that tells you what's imbalanced and if your body is making cancer. I use it all the time. I've been doing it for 19 years. Very accurate, very inexpensive to do. This is a blood test by a laboratory in Florida called American Metabolic Laboratory. It's HCG is the malignancy marker. Then you have PHI, low oxygen. Remember I told you in the beginning, cancer thrives in a low oxygen environment. Then you have CEA, it's a very common tumor marker. So GGTP is liver, thyroid, and adrenal, because these are markers that you have the potential to have cancer in your body. So it will tell us very early. This is a blood test that measures your circulating tumor cells, what I talked about earlier. A lab in Greece, RGCC, And they are in 14 countries in the world. They already check circulating tumor cells. And over 800 doctors in the United States check them here. And you can check your body for circulating tumor cells. So if you've ever had cancer, this is the first thing you want to do. Now, if you've never had cancer and you want to make sure you don't have cancer, this would be a test. It's about $500, so it's not that expensive. So conventional treatment, chemotherapy, radiation. So we now know for the past 35 years, the survival of cancer has not changed in 35 years. Aren't we supposed to be getting better? Yes, we're supposed to be getting better. We can make cell phones that do a jillion functions, but we can't make our body well. What's going on? No, this can't happen. But if you do integrative treatments, you teach someone how to take care of themselves by proper eating, detox, IV vitamin C. We use immune things. We do all kinds of different treatments. And none of them have side effects. None of them hurt the patient, and none of them kill the patient. What a concept. So these are all the natural things that can kill. Not all, many more. These are just some of the things, because patients came up to me all the time. Well, Dr. Connealy, what do you think about cannabis? What do you think about green tea? What do you think about resveratrol? What do you think about curcumin? They all have their place. Not all at the same time. We have to figure out what works for you, and you. Each person is individual. So we are what we eat and we're exposed to. So these are the kind of the do not list. I know you're not going to be perfect. I never expect anyone to be perfect. I don't. So, but these are kind of the golden rules. You've got to, not smoke. And I tell my patients who smoke, if you smoke, this is what you have to do to detox, because you know how many hundreds of chemicals. So I tell them, okay, if I can't convince you, and I do know how to teach them how to quit smoking, I do have a special program for patients, but if they're not ready, I'm not going to force it. So the alcohol, soda, pickle, sugar, we already know unfavorable carbohydrates are just sugar, like French fries. And then fast food and processed food. They just came out with a book called Fast Food Genocide. It's how it's killing you. You've heard about the ketogenic diet. In the last couple of years, there's a jillion books now on the ketogenic diet, all under different guises and names, but it's been around since the 60s. It was used to cure epilepsy. Well, now they found out it's the most anti-aging, anti-cancer, anti-everything eating program proven scientifically. So it's basically high good fats, moderate protein, and very low carbs and sugar. Now, detox, I will tell you, I like the word purification better, it sounds better, but we all have to clean up our body. We have to clean up our mind, and we have to clean up our body. And there's all kinds of little things you can do. If you don't have any money, let's say you don't have any money, fast once a week. That's a great way to detox. It doesn't cost you any money. In fact, it's going to save you money. So don't tell me money cannot be an interfering force, because there's so many easy things. You can make your own detox bath. There's all kinds of little tools and tricks you can do for self-care management. Because guess what? If you don't do it, no one's going to do it. But you got 100 trillion cells you got to take care of, and they have garbage every nanosecond. So these are the things you need. You got to get sleep. Sleep is a drug. Sleep. 100 years ago, they slept 10 hours. People barely get 6 hours a night. Address your stress. You can't be stressed. You've got to learn how to train yourself how not to be stressed. Get rid of the food intolerances. Drink lots of clean water. Eat foods that are going to nourish. Think that every morsel of food you're eating is making a good cell. You got to move. We're all sedentary because we work at a computer. Clean up your body and love yourself and love everyone else. So these are the pillars of healing: spirituality, mind, body, immunity, nourishment, detox, lifestyle, and targeted cancer therapies. So that is my worldwide tour of cancer. So all of that's in my book, Cancer Revolution. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate Alex for his efforts in bringing all of this together, and I appreciate all of you guys listening. So you're welcome.